Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. I am your host, Jose Galison. This is the morning dump. This is the kitty of the day, Eeyore. He's a little restless. He wasn't ready for this. If you guys like this show and if you want to see more kitties like this, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the show. All right.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day. I am alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to the white light.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, good morning. What is up, people? Am I coming in a little loud? It seems a little loud to me. Maybe I just have the mic too close to my face. All right, there we go. What is up, people? Did you guys like the kitty of the morning? I fucked up the intro spiel. It got a little restless, threw it off. He was being chill, and they started moving all about. But hey, and I like that idea, kind of rotate through all the kitties and show you guys a different kitty every day. I think it makes a cute, fun little bumper for this show. And I don't know, a little bit of shameless promotion, although I don't really need it. The nature of that business, it's like we have a wait list always, like all the time. But hey, if you guys ever want one, hit me up. But yeah, this is the morning dump, my info dump show. You guys know this, regular Monday through Friday, typically around 11 a.m. Eastern. We go through whatever the thing of the day is, typically news. Every now and then we might dig in a little bit of old stuff if I'm researching some things or something. But today, what we have Kurt Killer's Crazy Bussy. I promised you guys yesterday we would dig into some of the assorted claims of Robinson and his boo and what was going on there. We have a couple other little Kirk things we'll throw in there with it. Trump's Epstein lawfare, essentially kind of some of the, ironically, the weaponizing of the government against the media, which, I don't know, I guess I'm a little bit torn on because it is the establishment media, so you're like, hey, whatever, screw them. Then also martial law, which is kind of a little bit of a grab bag at the end, which have assorted different things, a little bit of concern with the coming EBTs, stuff getting shut off, the upcoming midterms, some of the weird technocratic security state sort of measures we're seeing coming up. So we have a few things to go through that. As always, we usually start this show off with some icebreaker stories, clips, etc., and then we roll into foreign policy, and then we'll get into those main topics we told you about. Be sure to hit that like button if you're popping in here. Help out the show. It'll send more people our way. Make this quite fun. By the way, big shout out. I've had a few big supporters recently, so awesome. For those who are interested as well, right over here. What am I doing? All retarded. Right here. QR code. That's where you can support the show. Patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. One of these days, I'll figure out some of the other payment options for you guys. But till then, that's it. So share it around, or if you want to support it with money, that's the way. But yeah, let's get into one of these intro stories. Starting off, we have probably one of the coolest stories of all time. A homeless man apparently was spotted shopping with a massive eagle on his shoulder that was a species believed to be extinct. So, dudes rock. Here is the image of it. He is literally just coming in to get his morning coffee or whatever. Homeless dude with a fucking regal ass eagle on his shoulder. So, what a dope life to lead. Next, into the next kind of interest story. Apparently Utah was not satisfied with just offing Charlie Kirk. Apparently they needed to go a step further and control the weather. Let's watch this video. I haven't watched this yet, so I don't know. Apparently, in Utah, they're now controlling the weather according to Hustle Bitch over here. So let's watch this.
Thanks to a massive infusion of cash and some new technologies, the state now operates the world's largest remote-controlled cloud seeding program.
We're off to a great start this water year. Hopefully it's not a repeat of last year's pattern.
The group that oversees Utah's water resources got some good news when it comes to cloud seeding. That's pumping silver iodide into the atmosphere to squeeze a little more precipitation out of a storm.
The statewide average is 10.4% increase in snowpack.
To help in Utah's drought and the crisis facing the Great Salt Lake and the Colorado River, Utah jumped into cloud seeding in a big way. The legislature upped the budget from $200,000 a few years ago to nearly $16 million. That allowed the state to invest in remote-controlled generators.
When it improves the efficiency, they can be turned on and off quicker, and it also improves the effectiveness because they can be
This dude legitimately looks like a mad scientist. This is the guy controlling the weather in Utah. But all right, let's go on.
placed at higher elevations, above temperature inversions, for example.
The state is also purchasing new drones to do cloud seeding. That helps in areas like the La Salle Mountains in southeastern Utah, where they found ground generators don't work as well because of climate patterns in that region.
I think it's really exciting that we're leading the world.
Dana Van Horn, who represents southeastern Utah communities on the board, says it could help.
If we can increase the snowpack in the La Salle Mountains, I think that it'll directly impact the Colorado River flow.
In fact, lower Colorado River Basin states are now paying Utah to do cloud seeding because it benefits them.
They recognize that the water supply for the Colorado is in our mountains.
Idaho has also started kicking in money to help the Bear River and the Great Salt Lake. The state is also partnering with academic institutions for research on cloud seeding. Silver iodide is found to be safe.
Cloud seeding is a part of a silver buckshot method. There are no silver bullets as it relates to solving our Western water issues.
But environmentalists caution that cloud seeding is just one tool to help.
You know, I think the best thing that we could be doing is just reducing our use all over the place, but that's painful. This is a somewhat expensive way to mitigate that pain.
The intent of cloud seeding is to increase the amount of snowpack, even if it's a small amount.
The state plans to roll out more of those cloud seeding drones in the coming months. In West Jordan, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
All right, that's wild. They are controlling the weather in Utah. I don't really know much more to say about it than that. It's kind of wild. The complete U-turn weather modification has undergone in the past, I don't know, 5 years. About 5 years ago, you sound like an insane person. Now this is just what normies say. Same thing with the Jew space laser. I don't think we ever covered that. I believe, I don't know. I don't think it was like waiting, like being tried out, like, or I forget what beta testing or something. I don't know. But essentially, they were in production of literally Jewish space lasers. So that is a thing. Weaponized space lasers. Now, is it being used? I don't know. Maybe it's what they use for the towers. I'm unsure. But in other news, the big moment happened, and I'll be honest, kind of for me. I mean, not that it was like bad or anything. I know you kind of was expecting fireworks, but Tucker Carlson, what the fuck was that? Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, the interview occurred. I watched it all already. It was okay. I don't know. I mean, like, whatever. I mean, if you've watched Fuentes, if you've watched Tucker, there wasn't really any sort of butting heads. They kind of got along. That's a summation. I'd say the end was a little bit interesting, kind of like maybe some of the relationship type stuff. I think it does kind of show her. I think Tucker has a little bit more of a mature view on some of that stuff, whereas Nick doesn't. Although I'd say maybe you could even say, even in the relationship stuff, that like the outside view as Nick being the perennial single man might give you kind of like that kind of to where you're able to think outside the box. And so some of the things he's saying might be, there definitely is something to that kind of deal. But most of it's kind of La La Land type relationship stuff. And it is kind of funny. They did do like 10-ish minutes or plus on relationship stuff. And it's like, I don't know. Like I said, perennial single guy, which I mean, like, whatever, that's fine. But it's just kind of odd Not that it's like necessarily you can't talk about relationships if you haven't been in relationships, but it does feel weird. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of, why am I having a long conversation about this with you? Like Tucker Carlson doing that would be like if Jake Shields, when I went over there, he was like, all right, I know we said we're going to talk about the Oklahoma City bombing, but I think we'll get really into specifics on jiu-jitsu. I'd be like, well, I mean, I know more than your normal guy, but like, I'm going to feel real dumb with you, and it's going to be pretty stupid. Anyways, a little bit of a side tangent, but we have here on schedule Josh Hammer, crying out as a strike shoe type deal. Great Charlie Kirk is rolling his grave right now. Simply despicable, which is this guy's simply despicable, lying over and over and over again. Just a reminder, flex on this motherfucker. I'd like basically probably 2x this dude. I've broken that down before, but it's pathetic. This guy has been on every major platform, and still no one fucking cares what he has to say. He gets AstroTurf to the moon, but if you look in the right places, you see, no one gives a shit what you have to say. And that is what they're truly scared of. It's scared. But, let's give you a little bit of a clip. I thought this was a funny moment from the show. This is Nick giving his kind of how he became based on, I believe this is specifically on race in regards to Levin. Levin was who red pilled him on race. Thought that was interesting. Let's watch this. Of course, the audio's out. Give me a second. All right, 1 second. Here we go. All right.
I don't know if I've ever even said this on an interview before. I was listening to Mark Levin's show. This goes to show how normie I was.
Actually?
I listen to him every day.
You listen to Mark Levin every day?
In high school, yes.
Wow.
I was a fan. I loved his show, and I actually liked how he was kind of obnoxious and mean to his callers.
Yeah.
Vicious, and I liked that. I thought that was funny. But I'll never forget one show. He goes live and he says, America's becoming a majority non-white country. Does anybody think that's a good idea? And I was thinking to myself, yeah, that actually doesn't sound so good. I didn't really even think that America's becoming majority minority like that.
And you were radicalized on race by Mark Levin?
Yes.
Are you making that up? That's
a real story.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. He planted the seed at least.
It's funny, too, what I was talking about before about them being scared. There is something to that. I think maybe there's some sort of thought to be paired with that. And also the idea of like, well, you're kind of creating your own worst problem, especially when people show you aren't being honest. All right. Last thing in this realm, I wanted to follow up on this ongoing Plattner thing. Now, I had meant to include this in some of my previous coverage, but whatever, I found it after the fact buried in my bookmark folder. So I figured, hey, let's go through it now together. This is, we're going to kind of look at the everyman aspect of this guy that was kind of been built of him to kind of push back against that. So this guy, I think they even they laud him as the military, kind of this, that sort of backdrop or whatever. And then, they always say that he's an oyster farmer, which, I mean, I don't really, okay, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know exactly his life, but that's kind of how he's portrayed media-wise, this everyman. They do kind of lean to the socialist vibe. So he's kind of like supposed to be, I don't know, one of the peasants essentially, or whatever. Like one of the working class, the commie hero essentially is what they're trying to create. Well, I don't think that's quite the case. Not that there's necessarily a problem with this. It's just a matter of, I think people find this to be discordant with the image being presented. But apparently Graham Plattner attended a $75,000 a year prep school known for famous government alumni. Once again, to my point, kind of as before, like all these people saw Nazi tattoos, and I think that kind of buried the lead. Although technically it kind of is the same lead. Because if you are digging into like Death Squad, Gladio type stuff, you're like, oh, yeah, it is Nazi stuff, but there's more to it than that. That's like, it's also sort of symbolism for that very specific niche sort of, I guess you could call warrior class, dark warrior class. Yeah, not saying Graham Plattner is necessarily that, but he did work for Blackwater. He did go to a $75,000 a year prep school. I mean, there's like other weird stuff about his past, but yeah, he just altogether kind of generally glows. Is what I'm getting. Once again, throwing it out there. If anyone knows the guy, if you off chance he watches the show, love to have you on. I'd love to hear your story. Clear all this stuff up. But I do think it is at the very least the funny part of this whole story is that like, hey, all this over. Oh no, did Nazis, and everyone missed all this other stuff. Meanwhile, these are the sort of things I think people should be digging into, and it's like, are you really who you portray himself as? The working class Mainer, kind of an endorsement from Bernie Sanders, really pushing the working class type vibe. And meanwhile, he's a big dog. The sort of alumni you would see here, like Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart, former CIA Director Porter Goss, Clinton family, associate, I guess, to be fair, Strobe Talbot, Mackenzie Scott Bezos, and Chris Wallace, who was a news anchor. Here's from a newspaper. It says Graham Plattner is enrolled as a first-year student at the Hodgkin School located in Lakeville, Connecticut. A main newspaper, the Ellsworth American, reported in November 1999. Plattner is familiar to many through his role as the Artful Dodger in Oliver and as a 20th Maine Civil War reenactor. That's interesting. I didn't know he was into Civil War reenactment. That's interesting. That's an odd little weird tangent. Man, I need one of these days to do some weird deep dive into Civil War reenactment. For those who remember, who have dug into Oklahoma City bombing, there's an odd little rabbit hole there to dig into. You're like, what the fuck is that? I know when I had Lions on the show, that's what he was big into. Anyways, that's enough. We're not going to dwell on this too much. It'll be way too much of a rabbit hole for what I don't think really, honestly. I guess it could kind of matter, but it is as much as the Nazi stuff is sort of speculation, this stuff's also sort of, if you're trying to draw these connections. But at the very least, I do think people should, like, hey, point out when they're interviewing these things, like, hey, you do portray yourself as a working class man. It seems you had a silver spoon in your mouth. You want to explain yourself? Oh, hey, you seem to portray yourself as the current demographic that you seem to be courting tend to be generally anti-war. Yet we have sentiments from only a handful of years ago that people have released through these leaks that show perhaps you are a bit of a glorifier of war, maybe a little bit of a bloodlust. What say you? These are the sort of questions I think he should be getting. If people actually did their due diligence when it came to this Graham Plattner story instead of just going Nazis. But with that, let's go ahead and get in the chat, checking on you guys, checking on you beautiful people. Hit the like button. I don't know what's going on. We usually have more people rolling in around this time, but it does take a little while for you guys to roll in. But hit the like button, help it along, boost up that algo, help stroke that motherfucker. Good morning, Bobo. Good morning. Good morning, Chaco Ho. He says, I still demand photo evidence of Greta's boobs. Do I have to do a FOIA? Yes, you do. Good morning, John Blacks. Good morning, Bobo, Josh, and Dumpsters. Good morning, good morning, good morning, No Name. Good morning. Good morning, King David. Good morning. He says hit that like button. Yes, please do. Bobo saying watch out for those EBD people in the parking lot. They're going to start robbing people in the parking lot, not the store. That's what I've been hearing. Good morning, Kimberly. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Gerald Hall. Good morning. Gerald Hall says, remember when that Peter Thiel funded guy, Cloudsy in Texas, and killed all those kids from creating a flash flooding event? I remember. Obviously, allegedly. Good morning, Bug Fights. Good morning. Smash that like button, says Bobo. Please do. Don't be like Gerald, who gently caresses the button like he would caress my perfect head of hair. Push it. Push it vigorously and over and over and over and over again. That's what you need to do. Good morning, Mega Nerd. Good morning. Good morning. Who else we got in here? Mega Nerd says, who doesn't like a glass of cold water after a hard day of throwing batteries in the ocean? I do. That is for damn sure. Good morning, Robin. I don't know if you caught the beginning, but that was particularly for you. Gerald says, there's a company called Vail Resorts that owns like every significant mountain for skiing, and they use this shit to guarantee snow. But you're a conspiracy theorist if you suggest geoengineering exists. Huh, that's interesting. That is a fun little fact we learned there. All right, who else we got in the chat? We got Bobo doing aggressive towers all by himself. A little weird, but okay. I'm here for it. Keep bumping up that algo for me. Good morning, Tom33. Says I already timed my shopping to avoid She-Boons. Endless shrimp behavior, says Robin. Yep, good morning, Chuck Bam. Breaking news, mothership UFO over Wichita, says Chuck. Good morning. Good morning. Bug Fight says an oyster farmer. Yes, that is what he supposedly is. Hunting for them their oysters. Good morning, Knife Safety Plus. Good morning. Tom33 says the Nick Tucker episode was pretty good, honestly, but Tucker was shitty with the whole "so what if people attacked you" thing. That was cringe. Yeah, it was very weird. They're like, hey, well, why did you attack this guy? And then Nick would lay out like a series of reasons, like after being attacked, this, that, whatever, and then he'd be like, but like, so what? I'm like, well, that was the so what, that's the why. I don't know. It's like as if he has this bizarre idea that like if people are generally somewhat kind of good. I mean, maybe to be fair to him, maybe it's this old-timey political instinct that they kind of the guarding of the own team type thing. Maybe that's where it's coming from, and maybe this is where the missing piece where like that's part of his logic, and that like there should be some level of deference to same team players that have, I mean, especially if you're in the political game, I guess you are like, well, what are their policies? What are they pushing? And you're like, well, if it is personal stuff, you should probably put that stuff to the side. But I do think, I know, these sort of political maneuverings do say something about you. So, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it was a little gay. That was whack. Good morning, Marnimac says, why do She-Boons have to be a bane of everyone's existence? That is a good question, Marnimac. Good morning, Dralcalt the Con, bringing the R in the tower. Good morning. Good morning, Shifty Eyes Shady, says Gavin Newsom coming up on Wonder Bread and macaroni and cheese, bro. Yeah, that was funny. We played that clip yesterday. Good morning. Good morning, Comment Mama. Good morning. Who else we got? Any last people? Bobo says, y'all need to check out Jay's with Jared's Jose special. Was interesting. Yeah, I had the mustache guy in the chat you see all the time. He is Jared of J Talk over on the Dylan Farnham YouTube channel. I had him on last night, and we went hard on the Jays. We covered the 109. We talked about blood libel. We did the things you aren't supposed to do. I'm debating whether to put it on YouTube or not. I'm still unsure. You guys let me know. I went up straight up with a Happy Merchant for the thumbnail too, so at the very least, I think if I drop it on YouTube, probably won't get the Happy Merchant treatment. Probably just some sort of stock No Way Jose thumbnail. But yeah, you guys tell me, do you think I should risk it for the biscuit and drop it on YouTube, or just say fuck it and put out one of those like 2-minute little clips saying, hey, if you want to watch this, you got to go over to the Podcatchers or Rumble. I'm still uncertain. We went pretty hard, but YouTube's been pretty forgiving lately. So, I don't know, potato. By the way, John Black says Austin's Columbine pod drop last night. It sure did. I have not had a chance to catch any of it. I'll probably try to catch maybe like half of it before tonight's show. Don't forget, me and Austin will be hanging out tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Already Dead, so you guys can call in and hang out. Gerald Hall says one cannot simply cover 109 countries in an hour show. I mean, obviously we didn't cover every single country. Cover the main concept, the main idea, what they're being accused of. Kind of had to talk around it, that sort of thing. Yada, yada, yada. Gerald says leave it off YouTube. Bobo's also saying don't put it on YouTube. That's a Rumble exclusive. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm leaning towards Rumble exclusive. All right, guys, let's get into foreign policy. Sorry, I don't know what the hell. I breathed in wrong. I accidentally choked on myself. All right, I'm back. All right, let's get into foreign policy. Let's do it. Now, the IDF chief in Gaza, the war is not over, is what he has to say. So the head of the Israeli military said on Monday that Israel's military campaign in Gaza isn't over until all the bodies of deceased Israeli hostages are recovered, and suggested the campaign against Hamas would continue after that. The war is not over. We must complete our sacred mission of bringing the fallen hostages home and continue the campaign against Hamas. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir said at a military conference, according to the Times of Israel. While there's been a de-escalation in Gaza, Israeli forces have continued launching attacks since the ceasefire deal was signed on October 10th, killing at least 95 Palestinians in that time. So yes, we have these comments coming from the IDF chief, not looking good. And then, to compound that, we have an Israeli drone attack in southern Gaza. So we have another attack that occurred in Gaza. I know we talked about one yesterday, and that was the one that they literally ran it by CENTCOM, let them know, oh, hey, well, we did this thing. What was it, Brad Cooper over in CENTCOM? I only remember that because, Brad Cooper. But yeah, that's over in CENTCOM. They contacted him. I believe they said Witkoff they, touched base with as well, let them know this was happening. So at the very least, tacit approval, it seems. And, I doubt this one's much different. Actually, I know it's not much different because I have a clip to go into that. We'll play that after this. But 2 Palestinians were killed and several others were injured by an Israeli drone attack near Khan Yunis in southern Gaza on Monday, according to a report from the Palestinian news agency WAFAA. The attack targeted a group of Palestinians in the town of Abbasan al-Kabira, east of Khan Yunis, who were reportedly inspecting their homes in the area. According to the Times of Israel, Israeli military claimed that it targeted a group of Palestinians who crossed the Yellow Line, referring to the line that IDF troops withdrew to under the ceasefire deal. The IDF claimed the group posed a threat but did not allege they were armed. Since the truce went into effect, the IDF has killed dozens of Palestinians who allegedly crossed the line, including 7 young children who were targeted in a vehicle with their family. So yeah, this is just crossed the line. So a drone attack, they crossed the line, and so now these people had to get hit by a drone attack. So keep that in mind when we're about to cover this, is that this is over, covering some little fucking line, a little stupid line. Keep in mind it was initially unmarked. Now let's check out to see what Marco Rubio had to say about this. So let's watch this. This is him standing right behind Trump like a little, I don't know, just seems like some sort of puppy dog energy. Let's watch this.
You're talking about the strike against the Palestinian Jihad individuals? Yes. Yeah, look, Israel didn't surrender its right to self-defense.
Actually, he's referring to the one from yesterday here. So Secretary of State of Marco Rubio response: Israeli military conducting a targeted strike in central Gaza this weekend. So this isn't referring to the other one. It was referring to the one from yesterday, which was from some member of the Palestinian, I forget what group it was. Although literally they were like, this is complete bullshit. Like they just shot at some, member of some, Islamic group, claiming they're terrorists or something. And this is one of the groups that was in support of the ceasefire. So there's no real reason to attack them as far as we're aware, but we're still going with self-defense here. So let's watch this.
You're talking about the strike against the Palestinian Jihad individuals? Yes. Yeah, look, Israel didn't surrender its right to self-defense. Obviously, the ceasefire is based on obligations on both sides. By the way, we'd also like to see Hamas speed up the return of hostage bodies. We still have 13 hostages, 2 Americans included. But we don't view that as a violation of the ceasefire. They have a right. There's an imminent threat to Israel, and all the mediators.
So if they just think there's perhaps an imminent threat, well, all right. If that didn't make you upset, hopefully this will. Let's watch this. Let's learn about how much the Israeli military members are making. Of course, and audio's out. Give me a second. All right, so here we go. Now we got it. All right, so here you go.
With the current genocide in Gaza, they have changed the rules and decided that all the reservists, regardless of what they do in the reserve life, would receive 29,000 shekels per month. This is equivalent to about $9,000, more or less, per month, which is more than twice the average wage in Israel and more than 5 times the minimum wage in Israel. So it's a lot of money. And for tens of thousands of Israelis who lost their jobs, who lost their source of income and employment, and because they've served so long as reservists, and also because the Israeli economy is tanking, something that we will discuss more in our next episodes, then they see reserve duty and this very high salary as a way out. And they receive those tokens, they reserve tokens as payment for serving in the military. But it's not only that the amount of money has been increased, but also the way that it is being paid is now different. Because normally the Ministry of Defense would just transfer the money directly to reservists, but now the officers themselves get those tokens to distribute as they see fit. Now, a lot of the units, I would say the vast majority of the units in the Israeli military are lacking key personnel. The units are not able to function. You cannot have like an armor division if you don't have drivers. The tanks won't go anywhere. So officers are advertising on WhatsApp and writing, we need drivers. And even if you're not from our unit, come and do some reserve duty in our unit as a tank driver, and we will pay you with those reserve duty tokens. And some jobs are so difficult and rare that the officers are saying, you know what, come and work for us for 4 days, but we will pay you 6 days, as if you worked for 6 days. And this way, you really see how Israel is becoming a mercenary army. Basically, you have this army of soldiers who are not associated with particular units and wandering from one unit to the next as a gig economy military.
All right, so you guys heard all that. Essentially, the crux of the matter there is these guys over there are making at a minimum, the Israeli military, $8,000 a month. I can tell you from my time in the military as Air Force, I mean, all that matters is where you are. I mean, the branch doesn't really so much matter, I don't think, for the pay scale. I think it's pretty uniform. But, I mean, I had over 10 years because it was like a whole pay scale. So it's like, I think once you get past 10, it's like 10, 12, 14. You get like but I was over 10 years. I was a tech sergeant, which was an E6. And so no other special pays or anything. And I was probably bringing in about, I don't know, maybe $3K-ish a paycheck ish. So, you know, to be fair, I guess they're saying that's what do they say? This was per month. So I guess that puts me at $6K a month, but that's after fucking over a decade and being not even a low level sergeant. Like I wasn't like a senior level sergeant, like a senior NCO, but like higher mid-level management, like a tech sergeant. This would be like I don't know what level manager you would say at the shop or whatever, but like, so, and this is the difference. And it's obviously one's literally our military, one's not. So, I mean, I don't support the military anyways, but at the very least, like I think a sane world would be like, well, if we're going to be funding a military, it should be our military, perhaps. That would make sense to me. So yeah, they're making significantly more in entry level than like guys in our own current military who've done like over a fucking decade. So yeah, wild shit, wild stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if that means more, if it's actually more than that. Because like even with the military, people play money games all the time, where you'll see military members who are on like EBT or WIC or whatever, some sort of, and the way they're able to do that is by manipulating the system, because technically what counts is your base pay, and in the military you have what's called allowances. This is why I said it matters where you live, and your biggest allowance is your housing allowance. So a huge amount of that is your housing allowance. Now that's not taxable, and that doesn't count towards what you make. So when you hear all these boo-hoo, woe is me military members stateside, money-wise, most of the time they're being stupid faggots, and they're just trying to manipulate you. If somebody in the military is on fucking food stamps or something, it's on them. They're getting paid plenty. But the Israeli military is getting paid substantially more. And I do want to remind you, now, if you were like, you don't really get like, well, why should we really care? Well, that's because you're fucking paying for it. About approximately 70 to 75% of Israel's total war costs during this conflict has been taken on by the U.S. taxpayer. So about 6,000% of that soldier's monthly income you're paying. So take that in. Just a wonderful, wonderful world we're living in. And then on top of all this, we're just openly bribing to make things happen. Let's see what Trump has to say about Argentina. Let's check this out.
Wow, what a great question that is. I love that question, because that was a big win in Argentina. I want to congratulate the victor, and he was a big victor, and he had a lot of help from us. He had a lot of help. I gave him an endorsement, very strong endorsement, and it was really unexpected to have a victory of that. Some people thought it would be hard to win, and not only did he won by a lot. So Argentina, that was a great thing, and I give Scott and I give Jameson, everybody, Marco, a lot of credit for that, because you know we are sticking with a lot of the countries in South America. We're focused very much on South America, and we're getting a real strong handle on South America in a lot of ways, including the fact that we don't want their drugs. We don't want drugs coming into our country, and you're seeing that.
All right. Okay, so that's his, him talking about what's going on in Argentina, which essentially we've been giving them a whole bunch of bailouts, hooking up big time. I mean, there are part of the thing that we haven't talked about, like I said, that literally openly giving Argentina bailouts and directly tying it to essentially political support. This being another example. Like he was like, oh, he's got a lot of help from us, yada, yada, yada. Openly going out being like, yeah, and this is because, but we won't be helping him out if he doesn't get elected. Which, okay, but it's, I don't know. I know I haven't been covered this closely. I know it's caused a whole other farming issue, stateside finagling with the money. I have noticed, it seems like grocery prices come up a little bit lately. But yeah, apparently some of the interfering in Argentina's market, particularly with like farmers' issues and stuff, has caused issues stateside. So yeah, kind of a wild world we're entering into. And on that front, we have the U.S. conducting the third bomber flight off the coast of Venezuela. So they're still antagonizing flying another one over there. We have Rick Scott saying Maduro's names are numbered. So let's watch this clip from him over on 60 Minutes to see what kind of tone we're getting from the Republican Party right now.
If I was Maduro, I'd head to Russia or China right now.
Because?
His days are numbered. Something's going to happen. Whether it's internal or external, I think something's going to happen.
The firepower that's off the coast, right? This is an armada. This is a lot of U.S. forces. Are we about to invade Venezuela?
I don't think so. I mean, if we do, I'd be surprised.
Earlier this month, President Trump announced he approved covert CIA operations inside Venezuela.
What do you think removing Maduro would signal to other socialist regimes in the area?
It'll be the end of Cuba.
Cuba relies on subsidized Venezuelan oil to prop up its economy.
America is going to take care of the Southern Hemisphere.
All right, well, let's take a look at what taking care of the Southern Hemisphere looks like, because you guys might be surprised, but this isn't our first endeavor down this road. You guys can look into things like Operation Condor. Now, I will say this is a period of time that does go overlooked, and myself, I'm no stranger to this myself. I have not dug enough into that, and I think something about South America just is one of those unforgotten crusades that just doesn't really get the attention. I think much like for a period of time, a lot of the, I guess, pre-9/11, the stuff going on in the Middle East, it kind of had that same type. A lot of people don't realize we were in the Middle East before 9/11. We were doing a whole lot of shit over there. Funny enough, that's actually why they did 9/11. And it wasn't until after 9/11 people really became cognizant of that. Now, I guess, actually, as I'm saying this now, it's kind of dawning on me. I'm really kind of seeing how we have a similar formula in place, and all it would take is the all too real, a violent act, something happening, a la Northwoods, along those lines, to perhaps put us in a similar paradigm. I would hope that we've learned the lessons of history, but I'm not too confident. But here's a little video to kind of talking about our time from the 89 to 90 war in Panama and what was going on during that time. So let's check this out. Ah, dang it. Second, my bad.
My daughter
All right, here we go. Let's try again.
The goal was not to level the place, but to minimize damage to property, and most important of all, to minimize casualties, and that was accomplished.
My daughter did not belong to any group. She had nothing to do with Noriega. She was innocent. She had nothing to do with all of this, and they killed her.
In the months following the invasion, Panamanians were shocked to discover the existence of mass graves where hundreds, perhaps thousands of bodies were hastily dumped into pits and buried by U.S. troops.
There was a report of what some were calling a mass grave, which I think is a term that is imprecise.
No, I didn't say we had any mass burials. There was one case of some number. but I cannot quote to you that number.
To date, there have been 15 mass graves that have been identified throughout Panama. The United States military was directly responsible for the killings of the men, women, and children that are in these mass graves and for their burial. These mass graves exist throughout Panama, and some are believed to be on U.S. military bases, which creates a difficulty in terms of access to these mass graves.
Among these corpses, we found many young people, 15, 16, 18 years old. We found people in their 60s and in their 70s. We found people killed by a shot to the back of their heads, dead with their hands tied, dead with casts on their legs or arms.
Although the Pentagon insists that no more than 516 Panamanians were killed, they do concede that over 75% of those killed were civilians. Families of the victims continue to demand a full accounting of the missing and the dead.
Who has the right to determine how many people should be killed in an invasion? I think if one person got killed in an invasion that is illegal, that it violates all principles of human rights, the number of people, the quantity, the figures, if it's 10,000 or if it's one, is irrelevant. The issue that innocent people were killed. A lot of people die. Too many people die.
Well, hopefully we learn the lessons of the past and we don't continue down this road, but I am very, very, very doubtful. Already immediately, my audio went out immediately for the video. I just changed one tab. Dang, I hate StreamYard. Anyways, Zelensky says Ukraine's working to expand long-range strikes inside Russia. So we have the little guy over in Ukraine threatening big moves. And at the same time, we have Trump responding to a Russian missile test, telling him that we have nuclear subs right off their shores. Here's what he said on Monday. He said, they know we have a nuclear submarine, the greatest in the world, right off their shores. Doesn't have to go 8,000 miles. He added that Russia is not playing games with us. We're not playing games with them either. We test missiles all the time. So we have this sort of bluster occurring on the main stage. And then we got 2 more airstrikes in Somalia. They're trying to get up to triple digits for the war and terror still burns on in Africa. Somalia, of all fucking places, because I guess that's where our freedom went. We are now up to 86. They're 14 away from triple digits. We'll see if they make it. They are currently at a all-time high. This is the going record for strikes in Somalia. The last person to have it was Trump himself, which I believe he was around like 50-ish. 63 back in 2019 was the previous record. So now we are up to 86 in the war on terror in Somalia. All right, let's go through the chat and let's get through some main topics. Good morning, Marty McFly. Good morning. Good morning. Bobo saying Donald Trump became Jewish fully in his final ritual with the Las Vegas shooting. That was like his ascendant moment. He just swirled above. Just kind of like, you had seen was it Stranger Things, that one scene where the one girl like floats up in the air, but he's just doing that, but spitting, and then just like all the blood energy comes towards him for all the dead people as they die. Just, and he just becomes Jew. little locks grow out of Donald Trump. This is what we have AI for. I need somebody to make this. Just like simultaneously can edit as just like it's horrifying, like like people just get dropping, and then you cut to a scene, you like cathedral music, and you see Trump just and then ascend up and float in the air, and just then start spinning, and the spinning increases in speed, and then you see a vortex of like dark blood energy come towards. I think it'd cook. Someone make that on AI right now. That would. I'm cooking with fire. That's the new conspiracy. That's what the Vegas shooting was. All right. Good morning, Doc Shelley. Good morning, Justin Valentine. Did I say good morning to you, Knife Safety Plus? Whatever. I said Jewish ceasefire set to become a new racial metaphor like Indian giver. That's pretty funny. That is actually pretty good. I didn't even think about that. A Jewish ceasefire. That should be a euphemism now. Let's call this a Jewish ceasefire. Winky wink. Oh, that'd be a good saying for like something with like a frenemy. Like kind of like, oh, we'll have a little Jewish ceasefire. Wink wink. You know, like, oh, I'll sneak a couple in here and there type deal. Like that's I like that. There's something there. Justin says Rubio has a solid middle school knowledge of geopolitics. Trump is at early primary school level, perhaps. Yeah, Gerald says, imagine getting $8,000 a month for being a fucking reservist. Yeah, when I was reserves, I was getting like less than 1,000 a month. I can tell you, it's like it literally just helps with around the edges. That's about it. So, although to be fair, I guess these reservists they're talking about in Israel are actually full time. So what I'm comparing it to somebody who's like a weekend or some shit. But still nuts stuff. But anyways, Marty says only good part of the interview is where Tucker says he doesn't watch porn because intelligence watches you and listens to you when it's on. LOL, 1 hour 43 minutes. That's funny. I didn't think about it. I don't know if you're saying that, but you're almost like that was a wink wink. Like, I've watched you jerk off, Nick. Like with the Tucker CIA accusations. Like that's what Tucker does in his free time. Just watches Nick Fuentes jerk off in his CIA man cave. That's exactly what's occurring, I think, probably. I'm just kidding. Good morning, everybody. Who else we got in here? Yes, I do outrank you, Gerald Hall. Although it'd be super gay to ever pull that. Let me see who else in here. Doc Shelley says E6 are all dog shit pricks. I agree with you. They all fucking suck. That was actually probably one of the, like, really just the like soul crushing, like upper mid level management is like, while I am like philosophically opposed in some extent, I think that like, well, that is actually just like an actual, outgrowth of that like theory I'm talking about, like, oh, government bad. And you're like, okay, well, why is it bad? What does that mean? Like part of an outgrowth of that is what I'm talking about here. What I hated. What part of why I was like, I can't fucking do this for another decade. I gotta get out. Like one component was that like what you're talking about. Like the people just get miserable, and you start realizing, oh, these people fucking suck. I mean, there's some good people, obviously. So, but yeah, you don't like what it's doing to you. Good morning, No Hablo. So you would think the Jews would be able to conduct a genocide for much cheaper. It's their nature to be cheap. Well, it's also their nature to get money if they can get it. So they're the ones taking money. So they see the take, they're gonna get it. Or they see someone on the take, well, they want to get in on it as well. Let me see. Scroll. Trying to catch up. See if there's anything new in here or almost caught up. Did I say good morning to you, Nevsky? Good morning, Nevsky. Good morning. Let me see. All right, everyone's saying their morning. Good mornings. I think I said good. Did I say good morning, Uncle Ted? Good morning, Uncle Ted. He said we own the Suez also. Israel is ours also. Don't get it wrong. We own Israel, not Israel owns us. They fucked around and we found out. I don't know. I mean, the whole they control us, we control them. It's kind of, I don't know. It's not really one or the other. It's kind of, I don't know. It's a little confusing. Justin says, I think Kirk didn't realize they don't pay you to think, they pay you to do what they say. I agree. You're probably correct. I learned that one a little late, although it seems like he might have known, judging by Candace's latest episode. He may have had a suspicion, although I don't know. Her last episode was a little bit kind of, I don't know, in the middle of the road. Same with like this one. All right, let's get into the main topics. Let's go ahead and get into, we're starting off with this one, kind of a little update on what's going on with the private, not private, the restraints, not restraints. Well, Apparently, we have a ruling on the restraint side of things because there was a question with that. Apparently, Tyler, the judge ruled that Tyler is allowed to appear in court in civilian clothing, but he must wear restraints. So that's the thing now. He's still going to be in shackles, but he's going to be in normal clothes for those who are concerned. I haven't heard any updates on what the deal is with if things are going to be, are they keeping cameras out of the courtroom? Still no updates. I haven't heard anything about the one Jackson guy, so maybe we'll find out more. But it's looking like I think a lot of these things are going to be behind closed doors, so I think we might just get the onesie twosies, little legal documents that get out or whatever. So I don't know. I have a feeling we might see the fix come in. But I don't know, we may not get anything on that front, particularly on the legal front, but it looks like, I know, they might be some trees getting shaken and some things come of it. For example, here is the Kirk show, what is left of it, which just seems weird now that this is still a thing. Apparently they've responded to the Mikey McCoy thing. Now, this is a full 9 minutes. I don't know if we're going to watch all of this, but I do want to kind of catch at least the main gist of what they're saying here to get like what their explanation was for the Mikey thing. We covered this the other day. This was his like chief of staff or chief of whatever guy. The guy who was with him the entire day. He was recording him, and then the very moment he got shot, he did this weird like suspect like kind of turns around and walks away. Like, it reminds me of like when I was in college once and I was like drinking underage legally and I was just walking around in public, and I remember I saw a cop kind of circle around, and like I saw him like from the corner of my eye, and I just remember I always thought it was so cool and how slick I was. And I just remember seeing him and just like, and as I passed behind, I had the beer in my hand, and as I passed behind, like walked beside a car, like another, like an SV or something, so it like blocked me, but it was like just, or something, it wasn't a car, so I don't think I had a full length, so it was like I only had like one stride, but in like one stride I just kind of like dipped down kind of like fluidly and set the bottle on the ground and then just kept walking, like not missing a beat, so the bottle just disappeared. Like from the perspective of the cop, it would have looked like the bottle just disappeared from my hand. And I just moved on. Like, that's kind of reminded me of that, like, subtle, like, it's almost if he was trying to be like, play cool, play cool, play cool. Now, obviously, people do weird stuff. I mean, it was like almost immediately after the shot, he just calmly turns around, walks away. A lot of people have said that's weird. It is fucking weird. I don't know what to say about that. There is some weirdness with the McCoy family, too. The dad is one of these mega pastors. And I think we'll get into some weirdness there, assuming we have time. Some weirdness with the dad that we talked about a little bit yesterday, but yeah. But let's go ahead and get into this. Let's see what they have to say. Let's watch this.
Addressing of a video that went viral this.
My bad. Let's start that over.
Got to do a little addressing of a video that went viral this weekend. And it's a video of Charlie's chief of staff. We made the decision that we wanted to address this head on because, you know, candidly, there's so much intrigue, and I'm gonna do a generous thing. The intrigue is because people care about Charlie. Okay, so that part I understand.
You're more generous than I'd be.
Yes, and that's fine. And I am going to give you the floor here now, Blake, because you were there and you actually interacted with Mikey. You were with Mikey. You left the scene and then connected with Mikey. So explain what the video is.
All right. I'm not going
to set the scene.
I'm not going to wallow in it at length, but people have. It's gone viral and people have asked us to address it, and we're going to do so briefly. The video, without going way into it, is by, I can't even remember the guy's name. Someone made a video that is attacking Mikey, Charlie's friend, Charlie's chief of staff, a guy all of us know, a guy who we've seen on the show here the last few weeks. They are attacking him, claiming, based on a few seconds of clips, that he allegedly has like a nonchalant or calm reaction to Charlie's murder. And I'm just going to be blunt about this. This is a extremely disgusting attack. And I can speak to that because I was there when it happened and I was next to Mikey when it happened. And what I can say is, I can't say every single thing that happened, but I want to talk about this specific narrow thing, that the shooting occurs. I am next to Mikey. Both of us hear a loud crack. We both turn. We both see Charlie, who has been shot. Both of us, I think at about the same time, realize that that means there is a shooter who is on the scene. And you just hear the crack, so you don't know, did it come from far away? Did it come from close? Is there a mass shooter unfolding right now? So I and him both had the reaction of, let's get out of here before we are both shot. That is not us abandoning Charlie. Charlie had a security team. They all leapt immediately into action, and they got Charlie out of there, which was what their job was to do. My job was not to get in the way and screw this up because I had to be a hero. That was not my job. I remember even running past, both of us going past the SUV that we came in on, and me thinking, should I get in that car? And then thinking, no, that's a really stupid thing to do. And then I kept going. So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot. So the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And truthfully, I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy. He's a very happy guy almost all of the time. And I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was profoundly freaked out. What I'll always remember is the way his lip was quivering, which I had never seen before. And you very rarely see from someone that he was freaking out. And then I think he literally said to me, I might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erica. And then he takes his phone and he begins calling Erica. And I don't want to.
By the way, on the calling thing, I do find it particularly interesting. His dad claimed, now he didn't say he didn't say when he called them, but if you see some of his dad's statement, it does seem like he may have been on the phone with him. Now, there is some weirdness. Another thing too was Mikey, when he walks away, is he immediately, literally immediately, the phone comes up too, which is also is a weird thing people point out. So he's got a phone call ready to go, shot, phone goes up, and he turns around. So it's the quickness with with how this happens, which I guess he could have been dialing something or doing something at the time. He just happened to, at that same moment. I don't know. I mean, I'd want to hear from him. That's weird. Also, someone in the chat pointed out, I believe it was Noname, pointed out that the dad also claimed he had blood all over him. And I gotta say already, I'm not sure. And Candace did come back last night. Actually, I guess maybe let's swap. I want to swap over to that actually, because she had a statement, and I don't know if if she had already recorded this when that came out. Or if she had watched this clip from them, but she did last night kind of go a lot into the Mikey McCoy stuff and the weirdness, and kind of go into the, looking. She literally did the whole let's follow this. Well, this time from this to this, seeing, from to where he picked up his phone to take a phone call to, from the shot, and being hey, he had to have had this dialed up already. And I gotta say, it's seems to be a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I know maybe I'd have to go back and reanalyze video, but from what I saw to what this guy, Blake Neff, is describing, does not seem to comport. He said something like they looked at each other or something. I don't know. I mean, I didn't see that. But I guess let's look. I do want to show, I guess before we continue on with this video, I just want to see, here's a little, I guess, kind of, people are equating this, like my buddy Clint here, equating this to the Andrew Breitbart war clip. I choose war, like that thing. I'll be honest, this feels a little cheesy to me. Not quite that, but I don't know. Maybe it will age like that. It feels a little cheesy now because she's essentially calling war on all these people, and she hasn't dropped the receipts yet. I mean, I know she has done this before, where she drops claims and drops receipts after, but just in my nature, I can't really get too excited about it yet. I know she's played this rigmarole already, but it's also all right, well then I'm waiting. I'm not going to get excited till then. If I do get if there are some crazy drops that come later, then I will be oh shit, maybe in retrospect, this clip we will watch will be oh, that's fucking cool. But I do think in spirit of that we are covering this clip of them, kind of giving the breakdown of the Mikey situation. I don't know, maybe it's worthwhile seeing what Candace had to say about I guess this general group of, speaking in generalities of this group, TPUSA, or vaguely, whatever. But let's go and watch it.
I do not want people to mistake what's happening right now or to wrongly assume my intentions here. So allow me to be very explicit, okay? I want war with all of you, okay? All of you. And there's a reason. I'm going to get to that reason in a little bit. But I want war with all of you. So write your articles, issue your statements, email the White House, reach out for comment, okay? Say whatever it is you want to say about me. I want war with all of you. Because I know this isn't right. And there is no way you are going to convince me and the rest of the world that all of this is normal. We're not just going to keep on going and jump into a succession plan. We're going to figure out what the hell happened on September 10th first. And I'm going to tell you guys, Charlie had a vision. And I do not.
All right, now let's go back to the Blake Neff and his coverage of what exactly happened there. Of course, StreamYard pooped the bed. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. We'll bring this right back. All right, now that we saw Candace's statement, let's go back to watching this with that in mind. So let's go and watch this.
Disclose how that call unfolded. But he did that, your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erica. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy. And he says, Dad, someone shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit. We need everyone to pray right now. And that's what he told him. And I guess it's very disgusting for me as someone who witnessed this, who saw Mikey hugely distressed and then step up in the moment, because after that call was over, I saw Mikey get total mastery of himself, that he realized he had to step up in this situation. And from that point, he was like a general directing a battle where he was, grabbing people and saying, okay, we need to get to the hospital and we need to do these things. And you guys need to wait here. I need to get in here to get information so that I can get it to Erica. And when we learned he was dead, he came out and he told us, and then he says, now none of you can say anything that you've heard, because Erica is not going to hear about this from anyone except me.
Can I ask a question? I've just been thrown into this 10 minutes ago, but there's a suggestion online that Mikey, Charlie's chief of staff, one of the most sincere people you'd ever meet, brilliant, Christian, kind, everyone he ever met in his entire life, couldn't hurt a fly, was part of a conspiracy to murder Charlie. That's what's going on.
Yeah. It's vile. It's utterly vile.
Who would do this? What type of individual? Just to create content, do we think, or is there what's the ulterior?
I don't know. I think a lot of this mindset just sort of fuels itself. It's sort of addictive in the same way a lot of social media stuff is addictive, or in the way honestly something like pornography is addictive or something. They almost get a high off of the idea of that they're doing something that's daring or out there.
Yeah, and I want to make one other point though, and this is actually to your point.
Actually, we'll take a moment and maybe we'll come back to this in a second. And I'm kind of liking the idea of breaking this up into pieces because it's fucking long. And I don't know, whatever. I can kind of find my spots to segue from one to the other. So on this, I did have prepared. We talked a little bit yesterday about the McCoys, as I mentioned, with Mikey. Mikey's the son, the chief of staff here. Then he has his dad, Rob, who is this mega church pastor. Now, there was some chatter in the chat yesterday between a few different oddness surrounding this guy. Now, there were claims, people saying, on our chat, to back up the maybe people go crazy with conspiracies or something. Apparently, there were some sort of claims of Rob having something to do with some sort of sexual offenses or something somewhere related to some church. Well, I did do a little cursory digging, and I'll show you what I was able to dig up. Go ahead and just jump into this ahead of time before anyone says, I know everyone always, our community, we all fat jacket everyone. I'm not running cover for anyone here. If you can find something better about this, please send me over links, whatever, because I'm genuinely interested if there's something to these conspiracies. If there's something to that, I want to cover that. But From the short little dig into it that I was able to find, all I was able to find was this Facebook post, which then goes to a account, or goes to why would I start such a I can't think of what the fuck they call where you write pieces, an essay, an article. Why can't I think of an article? Jesus Christ. Anyways, and so it has a connection to article. We'll follow that article, but all I found was a Facebook post with like 4 reactions. Now, maybe this is going viral somewhere else that I just wasn't able to find via Google's or the places I was looking for it. Maybe I'll dig and look at some other places. But this is what I found. Pastor Rob McCoy knowingly placed, this is from Anonymous Mommy, and is now defending a registered sex offender convicted on multiple counts of child molestation in charge of one of the God Speaks Home groups that advertise to families with young children. Were the families of these young children made aware of the home group leader's multiple convictions, it says? Now, what is he referring to here? Well, this is what they're referring to. This piece from the Los Angeles Times from 1995. So already looking a little at okay. It says child molester draws an 8-year term in prison. Courts Thomas Michael Cimino, who tried to lure girls with lost cat story, gets maximum sentence requested by parents of 3 victims. So now I did dig through this, trying to see if I can even find anything about real quick. Didn't see anything about these supposed homes or something. That doesn't mean that isn't the case, but I wasn't able to find anything just from a quick look. So if any of you guys want to do your digging, but I guess maybe there is something to these sort of things that maybe people do get a little bit conspiratorial, run with things when perhaps they shouldn't. And this seems to be, just from a very cursory look, another example of such. Now, once again, completely open to being proven wrong. Please send me anything you have on this if you find more along that lines. But if you did want some actually something legitimate down this thread, let's check this out from old Dana Duda. 1 second. So I'm going to X out of this. Dana Duda. This is something we mentioned in the chat yesterday. Apparently, the pastor or McCoy that was the father of him. Rob McCoy's father was Captain Roy Edgar McCoy, and it was the Navy's assistant chief of staff for psychological warfare. Now that seems significant. We can tell this from his obituary. Here's Captain Roy Edgar McCoy, U.S. Navy retired, and says you look at the thing here, entering the Navy in 1952. His career included commanding officer of the USS Somersworth, the USS Hubbard destroyer, and the USS Carronade, providing inshore fire support in Vietnam. He was also assistant chief of staff for psychological warfare. During his 21 years in the Navy, he was recognized for his outstanding service with 2 Legion of Merit medals, 2 Bronze Stars, and 23 Battle Stars during his several tours in Vietnam. This guy glows, and he had a significant stay in Vietnam. Obviously, it doesn't mean he was a Phoenix operative, but just saying. In 1954, after a whirlwind romance, he married Louise at Truro Church in Fairfax, Virginia. They moved to Coronado in 1960 and began their 50-year love affair with it, interrupted only by brief stints in Sacramento and Japan. This is the father of Rob McCoy, the assistant chief of staff for psychological warfare for the Navy. So, and for those who know the realm or the place with which the place that sorry, I got a call, threw me off. For those who understand the place that Navy Intel is seated within the Intel community or glowiness at large, it should raise your eyebrows. That's for goddamn sure. All right, let's go back to this clip. Let's finish this out, see if there's anything more worthwhile from the response to this whole situation.
You saw Mikey do heroic things that day. I saw Mikey do heroic things. I was not on site, but I immediately flew to Utah. We got a plane. I mean, it's not something that I'm used to, but it was like my wife went with me. We went straight over. I knew I needed to be with Erica and the team immediately just because, I just knew. But that moment when I got the news, I was so shell-shocked. I was not even there, but I was immediately traumatized. My brain fries like an egg. I can't see straight. I can't think straight. All I knew is that, like, what's happening? My wife came in. She, like, hugged me. We started crying together. And I can't even remember those moments very clearly. I wasn't even there. Mikey was two
Mike has
steps
talked
away,
about that.
And I asked him, I was like, do you even remember the moments after? He's like, I can't even really remember. I know I called Erica. I know I called my wife. I know I called my dad. I can't even really remember the steps I took. I can't. But here's the last thing I want to make a point of. And because Charlie had given me similar instructions along the years. Said, if anything ever happens to me, you call Erica.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. And he drilled that into Mikey's brain so that when this moment of trauma happened, that he turned around and he knew he had to do it. And by the way, last thing, because this is part of the video allegations here, is that they think they're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see, like, the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions into this event, so he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around, and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I, but this is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud, and he was so shell-shocked. He put his fingers in his ear, but his phone was still in his hand. He walks away, and he's...
not even walk. Yeah, I want to, because people are talking about that. The way it was is we had a cordoned off area.
All right, I'll give him that. That's actually a pretty good explanation for that, for the whole phone specificness. I mean, obviously, it's kind of hard. I would assume from like in the video, it'd probably be kind of hard to tell. But yeah, that would make sense, actually. You know, if you are like sending out, if you did the phone, you're doing social media, and then you heard a boom, that you would go like, oh, gee, that might be your, I don't know. It might have to look at that with fresh eyes. Let's finish this.
Great. So you had controlled access. All the people, when this happens, they all get the idea we should leave before we are shot. And so there's a little narrow gap that I think people, it's not really walking. It's that everyone has to slow up to get through this little narrow choke point to get out of the area. And
anyways, well, the point is he walks briskly. I don't even care if he's walking, running, whatever, because again, the most traumatic thing you could imagine had just happened to him. My brain fried. I cannot imagine what was going through your guys' head being on the scene and seeing it and knowing, again, the security guys are jumping in. He turns and he, like, I'm telling you, Mikey that day turned into a general on a field, marshaling the troops going. But like for a second there, obviously he didn't know what to do. And then he clicked into gear eventually. It was amazing.
Mikey was a heroic figure on that day. And I really want anyone who finds like these narratives attacking him to be remotely credible to really, really stop and think about what you are doing, because what you are doing is bad and it is gross and it is a choice, and it's a choice you shouldn't make.
Every step you take. I like that little outro music. That was nice. It was a nice touch. I was ready to vibe. All right, let's get into the main thing. Probably the main. I don't know how long we'll spend on this. This is the Piper, not Piper, I'm retarded. The Lance Twigg stuff, some of the weirdness. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Well, we're going to get right into it today. We'll jump right into, this is a Turkey Tom is the guy who did, I guess he has a large YouTube video or YouTube channel. I did watch the YouTube video a while ago. You see right here, it's actually, here we go. The man who, I'm retarded. I guess he did 2 videos on this Turkey Tom guy. He's also a non-bird on Substack. But he put out a couple videos on the Charlie Kirk thing, and he was reached out to. I guess he initially put out a video on the man who murdered Charlie Kirk, getting all the information about Robinson, and then from there, then someone came to him. But I guess this is all kind of covered in the Substack, so we'll just go through it like that, and we'll kind of parse this information as we go through it. So this is like Charlie Kirk Killer's Discord logs. It says on September 23rd, 2025, this is the Turkey Tom guy, published a video on YouTube titled "The Man Who Murdered Charlie Kirk," reviewing all the available public information regarding Tyler Robinson, his assassin, and Lance Twiggs, Tyler's roommate and romantic partner. Shortly thereafter, I was contacted by someone familiar with Lance and Tyler. They provide an alleged first-hand account of what their relationship was like, how it developed, and some of the events that may have driven Tyler to do what he did. They have allowed me to publish this information but wish to remain anonymous. They provided me with the following. 1. Photos verifying their connection. 2. Their first-hand account of Tyler and Lance's relationship. 3. Photos of Tyler and Lance's apartment, as well as drawings allegedly made by Lance. 4. Discord archives of 3 servers that Lance and Tyler were in. Now, I do think it's worth mentioning. I mean, we're only at the very beginning. It says they wish to remain anonymous. Now, I didn't see anything in here yet that has said that he was that he gave up his anonymity to Turkey Tom. So it sounds like he may have stayed anonymous with Turkey Tom. But we're not hearing any explicit. Does Turkey Tom know who this guy is? And even then, furthermore, it's like, why the fuck should I care if Turkey Tom knows this? Because I don't fucking know it. So we're already in a rough spot. And you're just starting off from the jump. This is very strong, trust me, bro. And I don't know, maybe something more will come up that I'm not aware of that makes me be like, oh, there's more to this. But as of right now, it's kind of astounding that people are running with this, frankly. But hey, I've seen a lot of people like the Ian Carrolls of the world and some of the big, running with this. So hey, we'll parse through it and trying to get our thoughts on it. But I'm just gonna go ahead and say right now, just judged by that, this 100% could be a fucking Fed. That would be my guess. I mean, like obviously I don't know that to be the case. It could just be legit. I mean, but it's like we have no way to know as of now. But let's go on. So the majority of this is explained in this video, but here I'll be leaving photos of everything for you to peruse and hopefully help make sense of what happened. You'll notice some of the information has been redacted. This is done with the express purpose of preserving the anonymity of the leaker. I'll start with the first message that the leaker sent. Now I wonder if he redacted it or if not. That I guess once again, not that it even matters, because even if it was Turkey Tom who redacted it, it's like, why should I give a shit that it's like, this guy revealed? I guess it makes it slightly better, but not much better if Turkey Tom knows the identity of this person. But anyways, so I'll start with the first message the leaker sent. So we'll go through this now. Like I said, there is you can go find the video where he goes into all of this, so you can get that way. But we'll go through this. So here's the first one. It says this is a video. This is the message that they got from the jump. And actually, maybe some stuff I just said will get corrected. It says, "Hello, I just watched your video on the Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler and thought you did a good job. I happen to know Tyler and Lance in real life." Then redacted, a good almost sentence redacted. It says, "I don't take a lot of pictures, so I can't prove it very well, but I am in Discord servers where both of them are in it, including the one where Tyler posted his confession. I don't have anything super big to say in relation to the murder and hope to stay anonymous," and then redacted like a whole ass sentence again. "I have some pictures of that and some stories I can tell. I don't know. I know myself. If researching them, I'd like to know more because whenever I watch your vids, I always end up wanting to know way more details." It says, "I requested that the leaker verify his connection in some way, to which he provided 2 photos. Here's one of the photos. Was this Discord. So a picture of the Discord chat that they were in, I guess. And this is one of the famous ones. Says, 'Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this. I'm surrendering myself to a sheriff friend in a few moments. Thanks for all the good times and laughs. You've all been so amazing. Thank you all for everything.'" Now that is the one that a lot of people have seen. That was one of the initial group chat or initial chats that was came out. I don't remember exactly who dropped that, if that was through law enforcement or somebody else. But that was one of the ones that came out initially. Now, the significant thing about this, which he's probably about to point out, is this is a larger version of the screenshot that we had gotten before. So this kind of confirms that, if you aren't really thinking too much about it, you go, oh, wow, this goes further to confirm this guy is who he says he is. Well, this also could go more to confirm that he's a fucking Fed. Just saying. But anyways, we'll go on. Above is an original image of the confession that Tyler posted to his friends group's Discord server, which matches the photo published by Ken Klippenstein. Below, they also provided an original image of the local police outside of Lance and Tyler's apartment taken from across the street. So we have an image. It's like, okay, cool. With that out of the way, I'll start with their first-hand account of the state of the apartment, as well as Tyler and Lance's relationship in the months leading up to the shooting. I'm sorry. I guess kind of. I'll be honest. This is kind of. There was nothing there that was compelling. This is the connection that we're supposed to. So we have a slightly larger version of a previous screenshot that was leaked from Ken Klippenstein, which a lot of people always question, where the fuck is this guy getting his information from? Because he's Johnny on the spot all the time. Don't have a strong opinion on that, but either way. And then that this guy claims some sort of loose connection to Turkey Tom. So I have it on the word of Turkey Tom. This guy is connected, and I'm supposed to take his word. And then because there's a slightly larger version of a screenshot that we received before, I guess from a private source, an independent private source, Ken Klippenstein, I guess would be the angle here. You could say it's 2 independent private sources verifying yada yada yada. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. To me, it's kind of glows. This is kind of still, this is useless. But that said, we'll go through what is being thrown out there. So let's go ahead and get into it. So here's some more screenshots of, messages from this guy to Turkey Tom. It says, yeah, the apartment would drastically shift from clean to super dirty depending on the state of Lance's mood. I don't have too many pictures of most of the mess, but basically you'd start living in the living room and just start turning it into his nest. Redacted moved out, and right after Tyler moved in, like 2 weeks after, Lance had a really big breakdown. Their living room went from a place Redacted could have guests over to something it felt like Redacted. Then Redacted friends over, but everyone would kind of get weirded out by all the trash. The screenshot above, the leaker describes how the state of the living room had to be hid whenever other guests came to the apartment due to the nest that Lance had created. He continues below. He basically had like layers of wires, random Temu trinkets, decorations, random art projects, clothes, and empty alcohol containers everywhere. And if anyone touched it, he'd get livid. Redacted banned from the apartment for a while because he kept touching the Temu trinkets. I wish I still had pictures, but I felt sort of guilty and deleted them since I knew Lance wasn't in the right state of mind. For context, I've been playing games with Lance and Tyler for like 6 years. I count myself kind of close to them, but I was trying to separate them from myself because being around them wasn't good for me. I say them, but Tyler was always really level-headed and easygoing. But Lance could be anywhere from too depressed to talk to manic, wide-eyes, crazy person. During this first nest phase, Lance started working very rarely. He worked with his dad for a tub repair company. They'd either repair tubs or install them at construction sites. But when Lance was super depressed or just too manic, he'd take the day off work and hit his THC, vape, drink, and scroll reels. The message below has been censored to preserve the leaker's identity, but when he writes because he just stopped out of college and was tired of living with his parents, it is in reference to Tyler Robinson. So here's the message. Anyway, 2 weeks before, when the apartment was mostly normal because he just dropped out of college, it was mostly normal, redacted, because he'd just dropped out of college and was tired of living with his parents. He'd been working with his dad at a stone cutting business where they'd install countertops. Tyler was kind of your normal blue-collar Utah guy. Most conversations with him, he'd talk hunting, camping, gaming, and he loved talking about fishing. Now, the message below is also in reference to Tyler and can be read as, so I felt super bad when Tyler first moved in with Lance. It says, so I felt super bad when he first redacted normal for like 2 weeks, and then Lance went nuts, and then Tyler downstairs just became his nest. He'd be doing experiments in the kitchen which were mostly just growing mold in Tupperware mugs in the kettle with random Temu trinkets and rocks submerged in them. But every once in a while, I'd try and have a talk with Lance and try to get him to like realize you need help without making him go ballistic. I'm not going to say it was all just him being insane. His mom is like super Mormon and also kind of crazy. So there's that, and all the drugs like weed, LSD, shrooms, DMT, and I think he said Molly, but I'm not sure. Also alcoholic levels of alcohol. I do find it interesting that apparently I remember there were early reports that the family had apparently kicked him out for like being controlled by demons or something, which now this explains a whole lot more. If this guy was, chasing the dragon, hallucinogenic world, I can totally see how some super Mormons would be like, this motherfucker is on demons, get out. And they might have a point. But anyways, Lance has always been a little weird and quirky, but never really crazy. He was constantly arguing with his mom every time he saw her, and then ranting about Republicans and Mormons when he got home. And sometimes talk with him for like 4 hours, of him just ranting about his mom and family. He really hates Mormons. Also, at the time, politically, Lance and I would both probably describe ourselves as libertarian, and Tyler was very apolitical. He had his nest phase for probably 3 to 4 months, but he sort of went back to normal. But the tail end, after we'd both talked for a while, he told me he was trans and that it wouldn't change anything, and that I could even use whatever pronouns and he wouldn't care. Over like the next week and a half, the living room got dismantled. He vacuumed and cleaned the kitchen a bit. He still kept one mold experiment though outside for some reason, but it was kind of relieving to not see so much trash laying around. We weren't allowed to toss even the most mundane trash like napkins and Taco Bell sauce package, which entire drawer of. So seeing all the cans and bottles disappear is super nice. Blank started commenting on how it's nice that we could hang out without being scared of accidentally touching trash or Trinket and having Lance freak out. We'd have a mostly weekly Magic night in the apartment where everyone would come drink, get high, and play Magic. Lance started attending again after he became mostly normal. However, in between all of his turns, he'd go hang out with Tyler, and we'd have to call him to tables every time it was his turn. One of my gym buddies was the first to pick up on Tyler and Lance being really close. Man, I just realized it totally took down my article. What the hell? Not that it matters, but there was no... I don't know why it does that sometimes. So weird. All right, whatever. Says I was in denial. At least we hadn't gone to the pictures part, because there are pictures of some weird doodles of his in a bit. So at least I hadn't been doing that part yet. So all right, we're back to it. Sorry if that's distracting. It says I was in denial for months because I thought Tyler was straight, and also I kind of did not want it to be true. Eventually, I kind of snapped out of it like the nth time I saw them asleep cuddling on the couch. Then I kind of didn't think too much of it since Lance would get super cuddly every time he got drunk, which is how I think they got together, because I'm pretty sure Tyler was a virgin when he moved in, so probably when Lance was in the cuddly mood, probably something happened, but it's just my guess. Started noticing changes in Lance's political views as the presidential election got closer. He amped up the complaints of old people staring at him, which probably was because he dressed like a stoner and not because he was female presenting, because all he did in that department was grow out his hair and wear mascara every once in a while. He also hated that the construction workers would misgender him, which I thought was weird since he said he was fine with any pronoun. Tyler wouldn't really get political until after the election. He'd sometimes just casually bring up the latest thing Trump had done and complain about what it'd do to the country, but in a very level-headed way. Before the election, Lance's friend group was the quirky LGBT group with a lot of mental illnesses, but not saying the two are linked. But that's how my friends knew them. They're the people who are in Lance's server for the most part. After the election, they became a lot more political, but not to an extremist level. By this point, I would safely say Lance and Tyler were some flavor of left-wing, but I'd kind of become tired of politics and mostly apolitical, but never anything I thought was like dangerous. At some point, they told me about their friendship or that their relationship, and were pretty open about it after that. It became very uncomfortable for me because while I don't think of myself as homophobic, seeing two dudes constantly make out, redacted, was a bit much. Also, since Lance's room was always super messy, so they'd bang in Tyler's room, redacted, and I didn't like hearing it. Ugh. Lance started becoming more and more erratic again till the end of December. He just had another nuclear meltdown after having another argument. Also, a couple months before we noticed, Lance had been growing breasts and said that he'd been taking black market HRT, which I do not know what that entailed, but I think it was making him very erratic. So he basically shut down for like 2 weeks, not talking, just hitting his vapes in the living room in the dark. I thought he kind of started going back to normal after that because he started talking again. I was so fucking wrong. Says I had another Magic night at the end of January, redacted. So even though Lance wasn't completely fine, I just kind of did it to test the waters. I should have guessed because the nest was starting to form again. He was watching Doctor Who in the living room, and so I thought it was just doing that he'd be fine, but people started to show up and talk before we started, and he just started yelling at us from the other room to shut the fuck up, which we thought it was jokes since this was standard Magic night procedure. He yelled again, and then we got quiet till enough people showed up to start a game. During the game, one of my more autistic friends started bringing up transgenders in sports. He literally couldn't get further than those two before Lance yelled at him to shut the fuck up from the other room, and to everyone's amazement, he tried to bring it up like 3 more times in rapid succession, being shutted down literally not even a second after he started his sentence every time. It became a very awkward game. It's pretty funny to think on it now. Bro could not take a hint. After that, more people showed up, and we started having 2 games going, and the mode mostly stabilized, and Lance just came in with a sort of loopy grin and a bottle of something. He started trying to get my attention while we were playing and eventually started mixing a bunch of cards together, throwing them all around the table, which is weird, but not the weirdest thing he'd done all night. Toward the end of the night, he just disappeared and we heard a lot of thumping coming from upstairs. We finished the magic night and I started picking up the cards, thinking I'd help Lance pick up his cards, but they were all mine, and then I realized he dumped out all my extra rares that I didn't have in decks, and that's what he'd mixed up and started throwing, which to me was weird because I never really got caught in the crossfire. Lance is crazy. It was usually other people. We stopped magic nights for a while after that, and also apparently Lance had gone upstairs, gone into full tantrum mode, and was thrashing around the table while Tyler tried to calm him down, which funnily enough would make that the third time someone at Magic Night went full tantrum and throw it around the ground because one of Lance's friends would crash out a lot. After that, Lance went fucking mental, redacted, and he'd be super wide-eyed, like either a loopy grin or a rictus grin, like the fucking Joker, depending on his mood. The nest came back full force, and Lance started living downstairs full-time again. Here's an example of this nest they're referring to. Here is, you kind of, I guess, the wires and stuff. I guess you supposedly messing with. Okay, this is a picture of a kind of cleaned up version. It says, imagine this type of mess, but denser and all over the entire living room and kitchen counters. So he started playing on his DS and scribbling shit in, I think, PictoChat and scribbling it all out while giggling with the fucking wide-eyed Joker smile. He'd either be doing this or his experiments or talking with Chat GPT, I think is what he meant to say, day in and day out. He hardly ever slept. The experiments got scarier too, like jugs of water and with whisks of aluminum foil that had 2 copper wires coming out of them. The water was clear one day, and at some point I think the wires got plugged into the outlet because the water turned brown and the aluminum foil was pretty burnt. He also started leaving little papers around the house that he had scribbled on while doing that giggling shit. Here's an example of some of these scribbles. They literally mean nothing. These are like kind of psychotic shorthand stuff. You kind of see, I know it's a little bit sideways here. So here's more of these sort of doodles. These do look like someone who's communing with the Dark Lord, the sort of things they would scribble or scribe, I guess, unthinkingly. So yeah, these are the images a lot of people are referring to. You guys see them. Scroll through these slowly. For the audio people, hey, sorry. While you're here, go leave a 5-star review because you got a moment. This is nothing for you. While you video guys, though, hit that like button. Help boost this up. But these are the sort of things he was doodling. This one particularly a little wild. There you go. More doodles and odd, weird. You can see completely just numbers. He's doing weird math equations just thrown in together. More weird things, made some sort of battery something or other. Just, odd, just craziness occurring here. So, yeah. All right, here's more. All right, a whole bunch of it. And then it says, with this stuff comes, which this stuff looks bad, but it's even worse when you saw his face when he's doing this shit, combined with the giggling and how vigorously he'd scribble. It was very scary. And the way he spoke was weird. It was a bunch of words, but none of them made sense together, or sometime it'd be in rhyme, or just sometimes he'd only smile and point at shit. Bro, if I were religious, I would have called an exorcist. The smile was so fucking scary. Redacted, and he showed me what conversations he was having with ChatGPT. He told me he'd solved some equation backwards and showed me the ChatGPT's text as proof. The chats were just paragraphs of random Greek and I think Roman symbols with numbers and random letters going on and on and on. He'd somehow gotten it to respond in kind as well. He told me to start scrolling faster, and so I did, and he kept telling me faster until he was basically screaming at me to scroll faster. And the fucking chat... damn, I just knocked over my mouse. 1 second. And the fucking ChatGPT chat just went on for forever. I was sat there scrolling at max speed for at least a minute or two, and by the bottom, it was still in the weird symbols. He started yelling at me that Nikola Tesla was abused by the people in his time, and that no one he knew was smart enough to solve that equation, including me, because he is way smarter than me. This was all in weird, broken up sentences too, definitely added to the creepy factor. Tyler told me that Lance had basically been up for 3 days straight talking to ChatGPT at that time. Redacted, he'd sometimes just be sobbing in Tyler's arm, and Tyler would be rocking back and forth. We all thought Tyler was trooper for putting up with Lance in that state. Gross. And this is a used condom that's just on the fucking counter. Crazy enough, while Lance was like that, Tyler was still hitting that. So I guess this is I think this is just he did that to someone. He's just leaving these sort of shits around. I don't know why they just showed a picture of that. It's gross. Below, the leaker describes how he was about to move out of the area and inform Lance. The screenshot is heavily redacted to preserve his identity. For example, this was literally nothing, entire bunch of redactions and said, I told Lance. Redacted. It was crazy. He just snapped back to reality for a second and just thanked me for all the good times we had. Redacted, hanging out throughout the years. After that, I think Lance had been brought back just a little bit, and he even let Tyler take him out of the house to start seeing a psychologist. Almost made me feel bad because, not gonna lie, I was starting to think starting to become really apathetic and not really care what happened. Like, it was just so much energy to try and deal with Lance. Tyler was really a trooper for dealing with him. Lance even calmed down enough for us to hold like 3 more magic nights. We all thought Lance would be okay because he had Tyler, who was basically his handler at this point, to take care of him. Redacted, who lived across the street from the apartment, let me know that Lance had gone into an argument with his grandpa, who owned the apartment, and his grandpa had taken his car away. This I'm not sure, but I suspect put him into another one of these spirals. I imagine Lance was just alone with Tyler in the apartment, just driving Tyler fucking crazy. I'd be hard-pressed to stay sane while living alone with Lance while he's like that. Redacted, Lance and Tyler joined the Discord call. A couple times Lance joined and would say like one thing, then be silent, and Tyler would talk just normally. Tyler even joined the call like 2 weeks before the assassination and acted completely normal. Also, for the record, Tyler 100% calls Lance my love when they are talking alone. That more than anything makes those texts real to me. Hopefully this sheds some light on what was behind the scenes. In the last message, when the leaker references those texts, he's referencing the messages published by prosecutors of Tyler supposedly confessing the murder of Kirk. This person also sent me Discord logs of 3 different servers that Tyler and Lance were parts of. Lance and the names Lancelotl and Fluxolotl, and Tyler as Zealous Monkey and Bedbug Inspector. They date all the way back to 2020. Most of it's pretty mundane, but I've picked out what I see as the most notable, relevant messages below. Also, if you read, keep in mind that conversations move from bottom of the page upwards. I don't know, just some political stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to really go through all of this. This is, for one, I don't even know if any of this is real whatsoever. But it's all pretty, like you said, it's all pretty generic stuff. Like there's something about author-right, lib-left unity, some pretty generic lefty stuff. Here's one, femboy hypnosis is finally working. My nipples are so puffy. This is back in 2020. Okay. So yeah, I mean, just a bunch of generic stuff. Talk about Terry Davis. Wasn't that the guy who talks about glow niggers and stuff? Isn't that guy? So yeah, he seemed to be a little bit into those circles. So yeah, not going through all these. Scroll. All right, well, that's all of it. That's all. I mean, you guys can go if you really want to dig into the specific. These seem to be all pretty generic, political type stuff. But let's check in on who's this? The Baron guy. He's the search one, and now let's see what he thinks about. Let's see what he has to say about all this.
Now, here is the number one end-all be-all of why people end up being patsies. Why people end up being patsies. Why do most people end up being patsies? I'm going to show you.
Folks, in mid-2020, someone else on the server tags Lance and says, nobody said gross when you said you wanted to bang your 2-year-old cousin, Lance.
Guys, you think he was kidding when he said he wanted?
Now, this was something, I don't know if it came up in this article or if it was in the video, but I do remember this coming up. Now, I will say I don't know the context. I've definitely seen I've seen awful jokes in group chats and see people say incredibly crazy stuff, so I don't know what the context here. I've seen people say things on the level of insanity of that, and they're obviously like, the whole point is the absurdity depending on the situation. So in isolation, it is kind of like, I don't really know what the fuck. If I remember correctly too, I don't know. I think I remembered something more about this that made it more like a weird joke. Obviously, though, a little concerning. But let's keep going with this.
I could run a poll. Through YouTube. How many of you have said you want to bang your 2-year-old cousin? At any point in your life. Look, I'm not even...
To be fair, I've never done that.
Being an ageist here. I'm not even going to say that you got to be 35-year-old. Ever. I mean, when you're 5, 10, 20? You don't just say stuff like that, bro. You don't just say stuff like that. When you say stuff like that, that's the old truth peeping out. If you notice, they talk about all the drugs he did, all the drugs he does, all the alcoholic level consumption of alcohol. Guys, that slipped out. Those things slip out when you think them. I bet this guy's internet search history was an absolute lunacy. I bet it was a wreck. And I bet the feds knew about it. I reminded you, serving as I have as a lawyer, I got a call one time. Somebody I knew. The feds had found what they were looking at online and were not amused. They have ways of finding out. If they don't want to arrest you, they might just flip you. And the flipping you might cause you to go from, as Turkey Tom Zanon said in 2020, a fairly normal guy, to an absolute lunatic by 2024. The flipping might have that effect on you. Not everybody gets flipped easily. Not everybody's a psychopath. For some people, it weighs on their conscience. I have a feeling Lance was one of them.
And the following day, Tyler sends his confession message to their old friend group server. It's interesting to me that he sent it in this server and not to Lance's new server, because I'm not sure why that is. It could just be that he was less familiar with the people there, but based on the kind of messages sent there, which we're going to go over later, it could be that he wanted to avoid having anyone say something that resembled support for his actions.
Yeah, we're really confused why he used the old server. I'm not confused why he used the old server. Guys, you have to assume that everybody has access to the new server. And they might not. Now, one of the things you'll notice is the confession came from a very, very specific screen name. Zealous Monkey 55095 with underscores in between. That is oddly specific. That is oddly specific. So I do what I do.
By the way, I do want to take a moment. Swedish Jim Goblin says, all of this has no investigative relevance. Who was he talking to? Oh, I think you're actually talking about Mikey. Never mind. I was thinking you were talking about the, maybe you were talking, but actually this was probably, I was already on the Twig stuff. So yeah, that is kind of my point from the jump. What the fuck? And like, I feel weird. I guess I'm sort of bringing attention to it, but I am bringing attention to it from a skeptical perspective, because I am very skeptical of this. I do find it weird. I mean, it could be true. I just find it weird, the degree to what people ran with this. But it obviously, if it is true, it obviously, as this guy is alluding to, it opens up the idea of like, well, there may have been some other shit going on. So, but yeah, I definitely want to know who the fuck this guy was talking to. Is he being led astray? I want more than just some anonymous guy and some screenshots. But whatever, even if this is some glowy something or other, then I guess to some degree it's probably worth being aware of. To be like, this is either the truth or either what they want you to believe is the truth, and that's something that's moving towards a direction of more truth. I guess you're getting more information. At least you're given two paths. One might be the truth. One might be fooling you. And you at least have paths. There's at least a path. So let's watch this.
Who looks for Zealous Monkey 55095? Oh, the District of Columbia. Well, who else would look for it, right? Obviously, he landed on their radar a couple years ago. That's patsy material. When you land on the radar of the feds and you're living with a guy who says he wants to have his way with 2-year-olds, that tends to happen. So that was on, what was the date on that? That was on April of 2023. You'll never guess in 2023 who else's radar Zealous Monkey landed on. Yeah, you probably would if you've been watching the show long enough. He landed on Israel's radar in 2023, October of 2023. Well, did he land on anyone else's radar? Zealous Monkey 55095. Yeah, he did. And I'm pointing this one out for a reason, because there's a lot of child sex exploitation cases and image cases that come out of the District of New York. 2021 and 2023. Notice DC, Israel, and New York all looking at Zealous Monkey 55095 in 2023.
As I said before, I am a little bit. I am a little skeptical. I have a little bit of doubt on like to what degree you can really use this information. But this is, I mean, dude, he's literally looking up specific screen names. But okay,
could be a coincidence. Again, I'm raising the issue, as I said in my opening. I'm raising the issues and allowing people who want to be curious to be curious. Who want to be curious, I'm allowing them the opportunity to be curious. Now, there was one more name that was used in there, and I don't want to go back and try to find where it was. It was Bed Booge Inspector. It looks like bed bug inspector, but with an E. It's supposedly Tyler, the bed booge inspector. Here is bed booge inspector way back in 2020 being looked at in Israel. Way back in 2020 being looked at in in the District of Columbia. Bed booge inspector. In the Turkey Tom video, he pulled it up. I could go back to my notes and find the date exactly that he did. It's at the end. It's at the end of the video, like the very end of the video. So that's 2020 in D.C. Now watch what happens here. That's not our only bed booge, but you probably knew that. Notice the date. Remember, that was December 2020. December 2020 in the District of Columbia. Look at this one. This one also is December 2020. This one's in Israel. Bed booge inspector, December 2020. Also in 2023. Remember, 2023 was when he was getting the other hits for his Discord and other usernames. Watch. Remember, we had December 2020 in D.C. We had December 2020 in Israel. What if I gave you a trifecta of December 2020? Are you telling me bed booge inspector didn't do something in December 2020 to land on all of these radars? Israel, Huntsville, massive FBI location, D.C., massive FBI and government operation location. You're telling me bed booge just happened to land in the same date in all three of those places? Guys, Tyler has been on people's radars for a long damn time. A long damn time. He has been on radars since his late teens. I don't know what kind of weird stuff he was into in his late teens. I don't know. But I'm telling you, there he is.
Which, by the way, some of the inside info from Candace, who supposedly, I guess, somehow was getting inroads to the family early on. She was implying similar such things. So I don't know. You can take that as, more to there being, I don't know, because she's part of the glow op or something. But I don't know. This is stuff that was being floated out before. Kind of this idea of like the family didn't, I think they kicked him out even in high school, I think is what they implied. And she was very strongly, seemingly implying that like the parents were surprised that he didn't get in trouble, thinking that there was something, it felt like being implied untoward, kind of in the vein of what we're implying here is the vibe I got out of it was being presented. So I don't know if that's true or not, but, so part of how this works is there's how this could be a effective patsy, if it is a patsy, is because there's some truth to it. For example, we have the ongoing 764 problem. Although I think even then that kind of ties back. I mean, I don't necessarily think all of these people are like controlled or anything, but I know that at the very least, hell, even if you follow the breadcrumbs of what 764 even is, it looks like probably some sort of runaway op to begin with, even if you do accept it's all organic in the sense of like not a Fed op, but it was a runaway one. So for those who understand 09A and its connections to 764 and what preceded 09A, where it came out of. But anyways, that aside, the prosecutors have charged a California man, Tony Long, with animal crushing, child exploitation, and cyber stalking as part of his alleged involvement with the online nihilistic group 764, which we've covered on this show. So you can go check out my 764 playlist if you want to learn more about that. But it does fit perfectly, although that is kind of the new sort of terror that we can expect these days. So it is like, I do think there's a combination of it being real and being created. So yeah, that's how you get a good lie, is by having some truth to it. All right, let's move into the next story. I know you guys are over the Kirk stuff. Let's talk a little bit about some of the Epstein lawfare occurring from Trump. But we do have, starting off, we have somebody bucking some of the lawfare. Here's Michael Wolff. We've talked about him playing this show. But he was a biographer for, I believe, Trump and a few other people. He got a lot of flack for, I believe, his biography of Trump. I know a lot of the right people don't really care for him. I don't have strong opinions on him either way. I'm open to him being full of shit. But, continually it seems to be, from what I've seen in regards to Epstein, Trump, kind of continuing to be consistent throughout. So let's see what the latest is going on in his story, because it's taken an interesting turn.
Okay, I have an announcement. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael Wolff. I've written 4 books about Donald Trump. And also before his death, I extensively interviewed Jeffrey Epstein, not least of all about his relationship with Donald Trump. I've spoken publicly about aspects of those interviews including the things Epstein said about his relationship with both Donald Trump and Melania Trump. Several days ago, I was notified by lawyers for the First Lady that they intend to sue me for $1 billion for some of those statements. Now, they've threatened and sued other people for related statements about Melania Trump's relationship with Epstein. These are called slap suits. They may have no hope whatsoever of proving defamation, but these suits are filed anyway, or these suits are threatened to intimidate people from talking about this exact subject. I can't live like that. In fact, to be perfectly honest, I'd like nothing better than to get Donald Trump and Melania Trump under oath in front of a court reporter and actually find out all of the details of their relationship with Epstein. Turning the tables on the Trumps and refusing to acquiesce to them. Last night, my lawyers went into court in New York and asked for a declaratory judgment. In other words, we will have subpoena power to call witnesses and to find out exactly what the relationship between Epstein and the Trumps was. Now, this is going to be an expensive effort. And
I will go cut the chase. The last 30 seconds is him asking for money. I think it's like a Substack or something or whatever. I don't know. I'll continue to, as he drops information, if I think it's worthwhile, I'll cover it here and support it. So, in that sense, so I guess to some degree, I will help, help increase his signal to help him with this attack. I guess not even attack. He's kind of fighting back. For those who didn't catch what happened there, apparently Michael Wolff is suing Trump. I think it might actually technically be Melania here. I'm not sure which one specifically, but Melania, I believe, has been going around making threats. And so I guess there are I think it's either anti-slap or slap or whatever, either a slap lawsuit, I guess. And so you are able to sue people in certain states for threatening to sue. And so that is what has been occurring with the Trump administration. They've made alluded to, I think who was it? The all gas, no brakes guy. They threatened to sue him over some Hunter Biden claims, or maybe it was Hunter Biden, I think they got threatened to sue, but it was like on that guy's show, although those claims came from Michael Wolff. So I'm not sure if it's those specific claims, but they've made other, implying that they'd sue people for making such claims before. And then Michael Wolff, I guess, took that opportunity to jump on that. And with them being so litigious, he's going to jump on that and go, okay, well, then let's go to discovery. You're going to sue me. Well, I'm going to sue you. And so let's put our information on the table. And so, as he said, he may very well have this unique situation where he ends up getting subpoena power over our president or Melania. Now, I would assume there might end up being some sort of like executive privilege that comes into play here, but I guess I'd be curious if that applies for significant others. So we might end up in a very unique situation here. And now what kind of things are they wanting to keep him from saying? I think maybe things like this. Let's watch this clip.
Now, this is a key issue right now in the way the White House is looking at the Epstein scandal. The fear is that Ghislaine Maxwell can tie Donald Trump to the details of what Trump and Epstein called the Pussy Committee. The Pussy Committee consisted of Trump and
I think that's what we're going to call the inner circle of this show. That's what we're going to call you guys, the Pussy Committee. I don't know. Maybe we'll go ahead and think something better. That's not very good, but it's it's something for something. That's for sure. Let's watch this.
Epstein in their efforts to get girls for Prince Andrew.
All right, so this is a funny one. Whatever. I just thought it was funny that they mentioned the Pussy Committee, but there's plenty more damning stuff that comes from Michael Wolff. Just about everything or not everything, a large majority of some of the damning quotes out there are Michael Wolff. So it is a little bit of a both ways thing. He has had dozens, if not, might even be over 100 hours of Epstein from, I believe he got hired by Epstein to be his biographer. So that's why he has so many. Now, I believe he owns them, so he is able to release them. I think he said he's working on something here or whatever. But I do find it interesting. No one's ever sued Michael Wolff, and he's been pretty much he's been pretty out there making some pretty crazy claims. Yet no lawsuits against him. Now, I guess there were enough of an implication against him or those connected to his claims to where he was able to then go ahead and do it himself. Because it does seem like people didn't want to go to Discovery with him. So it seems like he had enough time waiting. It almost felt like he was like begging someone to like, please fucking sue me, is what it's felt like for the past like year or two with some of the crazy stuff he said. And now he got tired of it and he is suing them. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Now, I did mention some of the litigious nature of the executive. While far be it for me to to share a clip of Colbert of anything other than a joking derision. Or like a serious derision. Well, here's him on the, broken clock, right twice a day type thing. Here is him talking about the ongoing crusade against Trump and the establishment media and how that's playing out specifically in regards to the legal side of things.
This whole thing is the latest and boldest action in a long campaign against media critics. Trump has personally sued ABC, CBS, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Des Moines Register, and his bathroom scale. Plus, he defunded PBS and NPR and has already found his next target. Last night he posted, Jimmy Kimmel Show is canceled. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers, on fake news, NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC. President DJT. Good Lord. Well, you heard the man. I guess we're all going to end up working at our new podcast, Fired Force 5.
All right. No one would watch it, which is why all of these late night shows are dying. But that despite the case, I mean, it's hard to muster up too much concern for these powers. It is kind of like, who gives a fucking shit if the establishment media is being attacked by the Trump administration? Hard to muster up care, but it does make you concerned about the chilling effect that goes along with that. I guess I don't particularly care too much about these people getting shut. I guess in a certain sense, it kind of weirdly causes them to say the right things sometimes. I don't know. I'm torn on it. I really wish that, I don't know, it'd be cooler if they just be good on these things. And then these creatures of the past that we all have unanimously come to the decision that we fucking despise them can slink off into the dark corners from whence they came. But no, we're going to be, the Trump administration is going to be so goddamn fucking awful that they're going to, muster some level of appeal for these guys to allow them to continue to, reside in between our ears. We still have to know about these people existing, unfortunately, because the Trump administration continues to be so fucking god awful. But yeah, obviously I am torn. I do like them going after the established media to some degree, but it does seem like, especially when some of these do get connected to things like Epstein claims, it makes you wonder what the fuck is going on here. And then to kind of continue on with this trend, there's a little bit of concern with the going way of things. If we're talking lawfare, well, we're climbing up. Was it November 3rd? I think is when midterms are. If I remember correctly, I think the early November. It is October 28th right now, ladies and gentlemen. Next Monday is the 3rd. It is Tuesday. We have this week. Still have a government shutdown, and on the 1st is when EBT payments are being shut down. And we are going into a midterm with no government, with the Epstein situation looming in the background. So the world knowing that, hey, the government's probably shut down because these people are fucking kids. And then now a whole underclass of people is going to lose their benefits. And chaos could ensue. And throughout this entire year or so, we've had Trump slowly rolling out the old National Guard to different major cities. So it's a little bit concerning. Here's one of the followers of the show, Drackle Dukan, saying they're effectively telling you the next big false flag is going to be in the early months next year. Unfortunately, I think you may be correct. Let's see what he's referring to.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo
So yeah, it says Trump's new defense plan quietly outlines a National Guard response force trained in crowd control and civil unrest to be deployed across all 50 states by April 2026. Let that sink in. They're not preparing to leave office. They're preparing to lock the country down. Well, I don't know. I still am kind of torn between rolling my eyes or starting to become a little bit concerned. I'm still a little bit like, I don't think we're going there. That seems wild. But I don't know. These sort of the behavior of the executive in regards to law enforcement domestically has been a little bit concerning and does, give a little bit of credence to these concerns. And even more so, here, watch this, speaking of concerns.
The Secure Community Network, also known as SCN, announcing a large expansion of its real-time threat management and information sharing to protect the Jewish community at a time where houses of worship of all faiths are under threat, with a shooting at a Catholic church in Minneapolis and Jewish high holidays just days away.
Bad guys don't respect boundaries.
Tucked inside a nondescript building in Chicago, the Secure Community Network Command Center monitors threats against or near Jewish communities throughout the country.
Over 13,000 Jewish facilities. Every single one of them is identifiable, and then the system itself is taking in over 18,000 data feeds, surface deep and dark web.
Now the organization is marking a new phase to unify national...
By the way, good call, Robin. I'm retarded. For some reason, I mixed up years. It's 2026 is the midterms. Okay, so completely knock that one out. I'm fucking retarded. That's the end of the midterms. It's April that we go into the midterms, and it's even then it's in 2026. So I looked at the end. I was retarded. I looked at the midterm dates, and I looked at the end date of like the range. And I didn't see the 6, and so I mixed them up. I was like, oh shit, is it really like a week out? No, it's more than a week out. It's in April. Although, I mean, more to my point, as we were just talking about this National Guard thing, it's April. They're talking about rolling it out. April 2026. We're in November right now, so we're talking about 4 months out. That's what we're talking about. So either way, okay, I guess maybe I was like, holy shit, we're about to go into the fucking midterms, and the EBT people are about to rise up. Oh fuck. Well, we're not. That's not happening. We got another few months for that. But the EBT people are about to rise up, and in 4 months, we're going to probably start seeing some of this midterm craziness. So they have plenty of time to turn up the thermostat. It probably won't be necessarily all at once. Let's get back into this one.
And local real-time threat management and information sharing in a major expansion of regional threat centers covering communities in New Jersey, Delaware, and the state of New York, along with ones in Ohio and Florida.
In building out that regional threat capability, we recognized this team is working 24/7 out of the facility because of the number of threats and where they're happening, enhancing that virtual security shield around the country.
Michael Masters is the national director and CEO of SCN and says this expansion is a response to an extremely heightened threat environment for the Jewish community in the United States. And with Jewish high holidays approaching, a shooting at a church in Minneapolis, all faith communities are on alert.
You've seen an incredible number of threats. Since October 7th, 2023, our team in our command center has logged over 10,000 threat incident and suspicious activity reports. It is the most complex and dynamic threat environment we have ever seen.
SCN expanding capabilities to have more eyes and ears watching for the worst.
Being able to alert a Jewish facility, a faith-based community about a threat is tied to keeping the faith-based community open and active. If people are concerned or scared about walking into a faith-based institution, whether it's a church in Minneapolis or a synagogue in Scottsdale, Arizona, they won't come and that impacts our freedom as a democracy.
Freedom's SCN says it's working to protect here in Chicago with the help of the Jewish United Fund, bringing in a Chicagoland-specific threat analyst to alert local communities.
I really do think that the public knowing that we're doing this work gives them some reassurance. And I think that, you know, threat actors knowing that this work is being done it will also give them pause as well.
SCN officials say it is one of the few institutions that has a direct data feed into the FBI's National Threat Operations Center and work with all 56 FBI field offices. They just released a white paper about the risks and benefits of having armed guards at faith-based communities. The conclusion, the best course is having trained law enforcement on the premises or extremely stringent training for armed security.
Let's go back to that one, Bob.
The FBI's National Threat.
Give them pause as well.
SCN officials say it is
Check this out again.
one of the few institutions that has a direct data feed into the FBI's National Threat Operations Center and work with all 56 FBI field offices. They just released a white paper about the risks and benefits of having armed guards at faith-based communities. The conclusion, the best course is having trained law enforcement on the premises or extremely stringent training for armed security officers.
This right here is SCN, which is actually staffed by former FBI analysts. It coordinates with federal, state, and local law enforcement to train Jewish institutions on security and respond to threats. And I guess in a 2025 expansion of its virtual shield program to unify national and local alerts across over 1,000 communities. So what you're seeing here is literally like a J network tapped into the FBI. Just wild, just wild. And then if you weren't concerned enough, let's tie this into the modern thing with all this weirdness. Well, do you not like Israel? Did you ever make fun of Charlie Kirk like me? Well, you may have some issues. Let's watch this.
That is a retired cop, and I could not believe it when I learned why he's in jail. His name is Larry Bashart Jr., and he worked as a police officer and sheriff's deputy for over 24 years. He just retired last year. And as is common with retired boomers, Larry loved posting on Facebook. But our boy Larry may have posted too close to the sun, because after Charlie Kirk died, Larry went on a posting spree about how Kirk didn't deserve the treatment he was getting from the media. He also posted a bunch of other memes, like some Sopranos memes where Carmela reacts to the news, saying, "Who gives a shit?" But the one that landed him in jail was this one. A quote from Donald Trump one day after a January 2024 school shooting in Iowa. "We have to get over it." The night after he posted that, he was in jail. And the charge? I am not making this up. Threatening mass violence at a school. You can hear the disbelief in both Larry and the cop's voice in this body cam footage.
This is what they charged him with. Threatening mass violence at a school. At a school? It's referring to a school. I have no idea. That's what they've called us for, and I ain't got a clue.
I played on Facebook. I threatened no one. I know you don't give it.
I ain't got a clue. I just had to do what I had to do.
I've been in Facebook.
I'm not saying you did or didn't do anything.
No, I did do, but I didn't think you committed a crime.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you did or did not commit a crime.
I may have been an asshole, but
that's not illegal.
No, it's not illegal. But despite that seemingly major point, his bail was set at $2 million, meaning he would need to pay at least $210,000 to get out. Now, I don't know a lot of people, if anybody, who has a spare 200 grand laying around, and Larry sure doesn't, so he's still sitting in jail. He doesn't have a court hearing until December 4th. In other videos, I've talked about how people have had their free speech infringed based on things they've said in reaction to Charlie Kirk's death. But this one, for me, is probably the most absurd story yet, because they seriously tried to claim that a reasonable person would conclude that Larry's meme could lead to serious bodily injury or death of multiple people. Come on. The details here are wild. For the whole story, head to The Intercept.
No, I will say, he's actually right. We have to get over it. All the emotional manipulation. Now, I do think you should probably find the guy who did it, but the some of the emotional nonsense, some of this exactly, like what we're seeing from this story right here, all very concerning, very fucking freaky. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I love you all. leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. If you want to support the show in the best way you can, follow the show or support the show over at patreon.com. There's NoWayJose2020. The QR code's up here. The lowest level is $2. That's where you get access to early episodes. I do about 1 to 2 of those a week. Keep about 4 or so behind the paywall at any given time. You also get access to the ad-free RSS feed. You get access to Telegram, and you get access to pre-show, post-show, and priority in the call, or not priority, but you also get video call-ins on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, which is tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That's Already Dead, your favorite parapolitical weekly call-in show. So hang out with us, call in. We actually have Doc Inferno on tonight. He's a guy I had on for my Years of Lead series that I've started, and also, what was it, an 09 ALS 764 type of refresher episode. So I should be having him on tonight. Should be an interesting, so call in if you have anything, if you have any questions about 09A, Gladio. He's kind of knows a lot of this weird stuff. I also give a big shout out to my sponsors, those the highest level over at Patreon. I give them a shout out every episode. It's a big support for everything they do. And my previous co-host on Tower Gang at Learn to Toad, also at Abrogate D's, at ZOVRCK, at _Invisiel, Tim Tuttle, at Jolly on Klebold. Big fan of the show, Torrin May, at Wayne Tackless, 1-800-CARS for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack and Mark Vestevule. I appreciate you guys. You guys have been stepping up recently. I appreciate the support. It means a lot. Glad to see you guys are liking what I'm doing. But with that, guys, enjoy this beautiful outro. This is from Crab Smack. It's a beautiful song about eating crabs or legs. This is what they do. They do covers of this sort of stuff. With that, guys, I'll see you all tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Bye-bye.